Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Here Be Dragons. I'm your host, Stephen Stark, once again on the road for work, as you can see. But with much better internet this week than last week, and hopefully this is the last week where I have to be on the road. January is usually kind of crappy for me at work, but January is almost over, so yeah, good. Joining me this week, though, we got Nessie and John, the regular co-hosts. We got the lady who's trying to take over the internet one YouTube channel at a time, Aemy Blackfyre down there in the corner. And then good friend, not content creator, but frequent contributor to all of our channels, Aaron M.
Not content creator yet.
Yeah.
Still a no
He's
on
going
that
to be
one.
on my All Ints All the Time channel coming at you soon.
Oh.
I can't wait for you to get Helen on to that channel and see how it goes. But yeah, so welcome back, everyone, to Here Be Dragons. This week, we're talking about the first MCU outing on Disney Plus, WandaVision. Now, I have really thoroughly enjoyed this so far. But that shouldn't surprise anyone. I'm a Marvel fan. I'm wearing my Avengers t-shirt today. But I have really thoroughly enjoyed this just overall. So yeah, I've seen all the MCU films. Most of them I've seen multiple times. And I'm really excited for where this show is going to take us going forward. But we'll dig into the nitty gritty. But first of all, I want to get everybody else's reaction to the first, just the overall reaction to the first 3 episodes. I imagine it's all going to be more or less the same for us, but I'd like to hear it anyway. So I'm going to start with our guests, and we'll go with Aaron first. Aaron.
Ooh, I get to lead off here with my thoughts. So, yeah, I was a little worried about this one because, like, from the previews, I was kind of worried that it would end up being a little too weird for me. There is stuff that I don't really like, a lot of stuff that's like super trippy. Like I really tried with Legion, but I couldn't get into Legion because it was too trippy for me. And so I thought maybe this was going to be the same, but I was very happy to see that it was not. I will say that it took me a little bit to get into it. This is going to blow your mind, but I think John and I have already decided we like totally opposite parts of the show. Like, I don't like the TV show part of it. I like the mystery part of it. Like, where all of that stuff is, where it's going and what it's. I think the other stuff is a bit dull, but so that's why, like, at the very beginning, I was like, are we gonna get into like it not being this episode, or is it going to be, or is it just going to be this? So I was very happy when the sort of dinner scene came, and we started to get the sort of it wasn't in sync, like when we started to get the other side of it. So that was really when it pulled me in. When we started getting glimpses of the sort of the like real world or the side of it that's out of sync. So yeah, but I am very much enjoying it so far. It just took me a little bit to get into it. So okay,
that's a fair assessment. So apparently we're not all going to have the same reaction.
You're me and John on here. Of course, we're not all going to have the same reaction. So,
I should have known better. It's not Lord of the Rings.
That's true.
So, okay, Aemy, how about you? How are you enjoying the show so far? What's working and what's not, or is it all working for you?
So when I was growing up, I liked to watch the retro channel. So I really like to watch I Love Lucy and Bewitched. So I actually dig the old school TV show, kind of all-American show kind of aspect to it, especially because Wanda, who is not American, it would be her, she would have kind of consumed the American lifestyle through these kinds of television shows. So I really appreciate that. But I also appreciate the mystery kind of at an equal level. So I like both at the same time. So there's very, very few things about this show that I don't like. I'm a huge X-Men fan. That's why I'm here. That's the only part of Marvel that I am completely and utterly obsessed with. And Scarlet Witch is one of my largest obsessions. So I really enjoy that and integrating. I like how cerebral it is, how psychological it is. And so I love listening to YouTubers talk about it, reading fan theories about what is her mind doing, how much is she aware of and how much are the other characters aware of. I'm obsessed with it. So I've been having a really good time watching it. And I watch it every Friday virtually with my friend Jenna, who was on John Webster Film yesterday and talking about the first X-Men movie. So we've been having a great time watching it together on Zoom, muted. And then after it's done, we unmute and we just talk about what we think. And so I've been having a really good time with that. So also a little bit of kind of a community aspect to me, since I'm doing a watch party with my friend as well.
Nice. Okay. Well, we'll just keep going around the circle the way it is on the screen. John.
Yeah. No surprise. I'm opposite of Aaron. I was pretty much in love with this show from the first frame. As soon as those opening credits pop up and it's like WandaVision, all that stuff, it reminded, especially the first episode is very much like the Dick Van Dyke Show and all that. And so I was just absolutely in love with it. And it's no secret, I'm not the biggest fan of the MCU. So what I really like get over it, Aaron. So what I like about this show is that it feels so unique and fresh, and even when it veers into what we're calling the mystery aspect of the show, what I like about that is it feels very dark and sort of twisted in a way that I don't think the MCU films have done, because those are mostly like crowd pleasing, and this has a very sort of disturbing edge to it when you see the cracks in this world that's established. Mm-hmm. And so I actually rather like both of those elements, but so it's like there's two sides of me where I'm having a ball sitting there. I didn't actually have popcorn, but you could imagine me having like popcorn and just chucking it back and laughing as it pays homage to all these great old sitcoms. But then also I'm really liking where it's kind of leading. I'm kind of hoping that the MCU on Disney Plus is a bit more like this, where it's a bit where it has a harder edge than what we've seen in the films. And from what I've seen of this, it looks like it's leading in that direction. I mean, so it's not like I only loved the one side of this. I very much like where it's headed, and the end of episode 3 had me kind of giddy with excitement to see where it's all headed.
Right on. Okay. Big sis, what you got? Let's talk about this weird show.
Oh, well, yes, it's weird, and I love the weird. Okay, everything that I loved about watching Umbrella Academy and how trippy and funky and retro it is something that I just fell in love with on the first episode, because I watched all of those black and whites when I was a kid on a black and white. Yes, I'm that old. I'm black and white TV old. And I'm catching all these little homages to shows that I love, which is great. It's nostalgic. And that, I think, is where, as Aemy said, that's where Wanda's head is. She's going for a simpler time, a nostalgic time, a time when life was just so simple, when your biggest concern was, just having fitting into with your neighbors, just fitting in, being part of the community, putting on a little skit. Haha, this is just so simple. PTA night, and just those little, the conflicts are just little things, little minor things, like the neighborhood, excuse the term, the neighborhood bitch, just having to put up with like the PTA chairman or what have you, and the little authoritarian things. So just Wanda's sinking mentally and projecting herself into such a simpler time after, how things ended in Endgame. It's not surprising that, what her mental state would be, that she would put herself into something, something like this. And all of those sets were not exactly the same as like the Dick Van Dyke Show, or, Leave It to Beaver, or the Brady Bunch, but you saw iconic symbols of those shows in every episode, like the Brady Bunch stairs in episode 3. I'm like, that's them, that's the stairs. And the little skip around the ottoman when Vision is carrying Wanda over the threshold. Dick Van Dyke did the little skip around it, and he just like walked right through it. And I'm like, okay, yeah, cool, guys, cool. So it is nice that they take all these, that has this homage to, great or sitcoms of the past, and just bringing it forward into this, what the F is going on here, because this is not real. What are we looking at?
Yeah, so one of the things that is beginning to strike me about this show, and we've all mentioned the sitcom comedy aspect of it, I don't think this show is a comedy.
Oh, no.
I think this show is absolutely a horror thriller. And every episode, they're peeling away just a little bit more to make it just a little bit more creepy, a little bit more what the heck is happening.
Mm-hmm.
And we are only 3 episodes of 9 into the series. By the end, we might have Cthulhu on the show.
Yeah, we had the beekeeper guy coming out of the freaking manhole. It's like,
yeah,
my God.
That was like a surreal moment for me, like, what is this?
And there are all kinds of theories about what that means and who that is.
Stephen, I think too, with one of the things that makes it so sinister that I was noticing on my second watch through is their use of the laugh track, things that are really not funny, or, like the sort of repeated use of that laugh track, like during moments that where she's clearly like noticing that something is wrong and things like that. That just like makes the hairs on the back of my neck stand up, because it's so incongruous with what they're with what's actually happening, so.
Yeah, I think same with facial expressions. I know we'll get into specific scenes, but when Deborah Jo Rupp is smiling and saying, stop it. Oh my God, it's so creepy.
Yeah.
So creepy. Oh my God. And if you notice, she looks at Wanda after a while, which is another hint that Wanda is the one pulling the strings, whether she's cognizant of it or not.
Yeah, okay. That actually leads me to another great question. And whoever wants to answer this, feel free to pipe up. What the heck do you think is actually happening? Like, where is this? What is going on?
Well, like, I have like multiple different feelings at various different points watching. It's like at some point I wonder, is this some kind of alternate universe? But then I think it's a simulation, which Wanda is clearly sort of part of the setup, even if she doesn't quite know what's going on moment to moment while she's in it. I guess the answer is I don't quite know. I like have, like I said, lots of different possibilities running through my head, but I'm not entirely sure, and I'm kind of okay with that because I just, I'm fine with not figuring it out until the show wants to actually tell me what's going on.
Well, I'm glad I actually watched through the credits on the first episode, because otherwise I would have, you would have missed the end sequence where it's like, oh man, this is weird. What is this? What are they talking about? It's like you hear the voices, you see like the digital displays, the pixelation, you're like, okay, there's more going on. That's what the first thing that told me, there's more going on behind the scenes than what is just presented to you like face first. So and then you hear like where the radio voices, like the voices break in on the radio. Is it someone from the outside world or from somewhere else trying to communicate to Wanda's internal consciousness?
It's got to be somebody from Sword, doesn't it? At this point, we've established that Sword is there. I mean, okay.
I don't know.
Spoilers for all the first, full spoilers for the first 3 episodes. but like there is some kind of barrier, and the Geraldine character gets kicked out, and it's clearly the modern world.
Yeah.
So, what as far as like what is Westview, and who created it, and what's happening there? That's a whole other ball of wax. But then also, anytime you see something from the outside, like the red helicopter with the sword, or the interference on the radio, I do feel like that is stuff coming from the quote unquote real world.
So I really like the theory that so Monica Rambeau is the one that gets, like, they have confirmed that is Monica Rambeau, who is the daughter of the pilot, who is a friend of Captain Marvel. So I think
Carol Danvers.
I'm very convinced by the theory that little toy helicopter is an actual helicopter, and Monica Rambeau crashed into this reality, which is why she shows up after that happens. And I am, if you don't mind, Stephen, just going to put up something Kelly said, because the kids are a little bit of a spoiler if you're comic book readers. Now, they might be fooling us comic book readers, but if what I think is happening is that the devil of the Marvel universe, Mephisto, wants her kids, and this whole thing is so that he can gain power through her children, which are most likely, because they're twin boys, Wiccan and Speak.
Pretty spoilery, Aemy.
Yeah.
That was really, really spoilery, Aemy.
Look, people are. There's
you
a
can
lot
find all of this
theories
on the internet.
Yeah, but that's not part of the show. Some of us haven't read the comics, Aemy.
It's all theory anyway.
I'm glad that I took my headphones out for that.
I sip to your pain.
You should be, John. You should be.
I don't feel bad. I will never feel bad for having read comics.
Looking in the chat here, and I see, Kelly Jaded Redhead is pretty much going insane in the chat. With
I mean, that's the thing, though. We're not talking about the comics, like we're talking about the show, and so it's about the show and not about the comics. Like, knowing spoilers from the comics, it's like, that's cool. That's cool that you read the comics and you know all the spoilers and things like that. But we're talking about the show,
so they can take it a totally different direction. But if they are going to comics,
but if
that's what I think is happening.
If they
don't, then we
Well, they've already taken it a different direction. They've always done that, and like even down to Sword.
Well, we can just focus on the show, maybe.
Yeah, but I will say this: in the comics, the Sword acronym stands for something different than it does in WandaVision.
Oh, do we know what it stands for?
I don't even know what it stands for in WandaVision.
I don't either.
So as far as I'm concerned, that would be a spoiler too.
Jesus
that
Christ.
part I
talk about forget anything, John. I'm sorry.
I know Sword is in the real world, and I know obviously because it's on the notebook in the post-credit scenes. It's on the helicopter. It's on the beekeeper. It's on the necklace. So like they really want you to notice that Sword. Like that's there, and so I know what Sword is, but that's kind of the thing too, where like I don't understand why they would be involved other than, I guess, the Monica Rambeau connection. So
and I'll tell you why. It's because Sword is a different acronym.
Oh,
it doesn't mean the same thing. So in theory, they don't have the same mission.
Interesting.
Because in the comics, Sword is basically Space Shield. It's like
get it, Sword and Shield.
It's like yeah. Sword is like the CIA, and that it's outside, so space, and then Shield is kind of the FBI. It's more focused on domestic, which would be the whole world, because now we're in space with comics. So.
Yeah, it's Sentient World Observation and Response Division. That's Sword in the comic books. So they are Space Shield, but that is not what they're doing here. But at any rate, this is taking. It's hard to say what the hell is happening here.
It really is.
She could be in her own mind. She could be in some sort of induced coma from Sword because she started freaking out or whatever. We don't know. We don't know anything about what happened between the end of Endgame and the beginning of WandaVision and whatever happened in that time period. We don't know how long after Endgame this show takes place. It could be the 2.5 years that have actually passed. Who knows? But there's also like the question of, because somebody's asking her, who's doing this to you?
Yeah.
But
So
even,
I'm wondering if like the place that
I
they're
know
living
it's
in.
not somebody. I know who it is, but yeah.
But then it also feels.
but you don't
like,
know who it is, Amy. You don't. You know who you think it is.
This
but
is true.
But there's nothing that's set in stone right now.
This is true, but I've listened to the voice of the actor who plays that and is the same
Yeah,
voice.
I think it sounds to me who it sounds like to me. I don't know anything about it. I've read no theories, but it sounds to me like Rhodey. It sounds like War Machine.
Oh, you're talking about who's on the radio?
Yes.
No,
Yes.
actually, that's already been established.
That is, yes. Thank you. It's not a spoiler. Yeah.
It's not a
Well,
spoiler.
has it been mentioned in the show who it is?
No, but there's
Okay, then that
John.
qualifies as a
John,
spoiler.
he's in the credits for crying out loud.
Yeah.
Oh, I don't look at the credits.
I
look at the fake credits, but yeah.
I didn't watch the cast list of the credits.
It's not a huge thing anyway. It's a very minor character who's only been in Ant-Man and the Wasp up to this point.
Yeah.
Well,
yeah.
Thanks for that.
Jeez, John.
Oh my God, this is the most frustrating.
How are we going to
I've ever
talk
been on
about this
TV.
show?
Seriously.
Talking about stuff that's actually in the show.
The guy's voice is actually in the show.
Okay, but you know what? Fine. Spoil away.
No, don't spoiler away.
No,
but
I'm not spoiling away. But all right. So let's just talk about episode 1. Very, very Dick Van Dyke from the get-go. As I think even Nessie, you mentioned it, the way Dick Van Dyke in the credits used to trip over the ottoman in the living room, and a similar, not exactly the same thing, but a similar kind of thing is happening with Vision and Wanda in the episode 1 credits. And can I just say, I really appreciate they've made a different credit sequence for every episode.
They're really fun to watch.
They really are.
Oh yeah.
And
so it's the dinner episode, you know.
It is,
and,
yeah.
And it's like from the get-go, that's like Wanda and Vision are having this conversation. They see, that they're today is a special day, and neither one of them knows what it's about, and that kind of leads into the fact that neither of them really know what's going. They really don't know what's going on in a way. You know, they've got no history, no past, no what's our favorite song? How did you meet? You know, all these questions that come up during the dinner conversation with his boss. The fact that, neither one of them remembered what the date was. And it's set up as, it's just this comedy. Oh, it's he said, she said. But it's pretty important because it's like, neither one of them really did know. They had no clue. It's a date on the calendar. But
and what's really fun about this is because all of the stuff in the show, basically, a lot of it operates on 2 levels, where you've got the sort of in-world sitcom situation of the 2 of them, like neither one of them wanting to admit that they've forgotten an important day, which is always great.
Yeah,
Potter. But of course, then the level underneath is the fact that they don't have any memories of really what's come before this, and they honestly don't know what's going on.
I love how Vision goes to work and doesn't know what he's doing, but he does it nonetheless. It is classic kind of 50s, going off to work, dear, and you have no idea what the husband does, but somehow he brings home the bacon. It's really interesting. And then when he has
it's very commentary on office jobs
boss,
in general too.
Yeah, when he has the boss over, he's like, "What are these forms for?" And he's like, "Of course, input and output." Like, you're so dumb. But he's like, "Of what?" Like, we don't know. It's a really funny point. I think that is these whole first 3 episodes are really also a commentary on classic TV, and I really do appreciate the little things here and there about that. And the scene where they almost get caught every time with her using magic is just so bewitched that I just was clapping the whole time, so excited by it, because I really loved Bewitched growing up.
Yeah.
They always
And
have a briefcase too, Amy. Every office
Yes.
job requires
Yeah.
a briefcase for some reason too. So
What documents are in there for what purpose, we don't know.
we don't know.
I mean, it could be a lunchbox. There could be an egg salad sandwich in there for all we know.
See, that was sort of anachronistic. Did they have computers in the 50s?
Yes, they did.
Did they?
They took up a whole
earliest-
room, but yes.
That most people would know about?
I mean, I think if you're in the computing business, yes.
But
You would.
let's also, I think we shouldn't, follow that sort of, in-world logic too far, because this whole thing is basically.
Well, that's what I'm saying. Was it deliberately anachronistic?
Yeah.
Was
I
it
mean,
deliberate that they used the word computer, even though that most people wouldn't know about computers, or was it not? It was just a question that I had, is all. So no, you're right. I'm not here to be like, oh, well, this and this and this isn't exactly accurate, but I wondered if it was deliberate, is all. So
if you want to get hyper nitty gritty details, the show is set in 1961, and you can tell that because the day, because
the calendar,
and the leap years and the way that all works. The show is set in 1961. There's a little girl on the calendar too that says all she wants is a color television, which was invented in the late 50s. Didn't become ubiquitous until the mid to late 60s in the United States. So it's not that hard to figure out. The show is set in 61. They absolutely had computers.
we're going by decade, right? So 60s, 70s, and then I assume it's 80s next.
Well, maybe, but the first, it seems like early 60s, late 60s, and then we're going into the 70s and episode.
The early 70s.
So we'll see that, I think. But I do think we'll continue to see sitcoms throughout history.
Yeah.
I think because it's 9 episodes, it would be hard. They would run out of decades if they did one whole decade per episode. So I think they're splitting each decade into 2. Oh, that would be nice. I like that.
Oh, we might get some Jetsons. That would be great.
That would be great to do some Jetsons or something like that. Yeah, something super in the future.
And also, we don't know how long this.
It's in the simulation too. Yeah,
the simulation will last for. If we could enter the back half of the season with it taking entirely place in the present time in the quote unquote real world. So.
I want to address Potter's question, though. So there are a lot of little lines and little things in there that if you have seen the MCU movies or you are familiar with the comics, then you'll get little things, but you can totally watch the show without that. It's not going to impede your enjoyment of the show. But let me just give you a small example. And this is not a spoiler if you've seen, I believe it was Endgame, whenever she says, oh, my husband and his indestructible head. And the way that Vision died was literally something was ripped out of his head. So there are things like that you will be like, haha, that's clever. But you can still watch the show and enjoy it nonetheless.
Yeah, it's probably, I mean, I guess unless you want to be like me in The Sixth Sense when I missed the first 5 minutes because I was putting my contact back in. And so I had no idea at the end that he had been shot at the beginning. So you probably should know that Vision is in fact dead in the real world, but that's probably.
And even if you didn't know that, something is off.
Which is another interesting thing to talk about, because Vision does seem like, he's aware that something's
yes, he does.
World. So he does seem to be actually self-aware within this.
Well,
I'm not sure. I would say that I'm very much not sure. I think she's piloting him because in the dinner scene, he doesn't do anything until she says.
Vision would have jumped up. He has very quick reflexes. He's a machine. He would have reacted immediately.
So he just sits there looking at her, and so until she says something, so it's like I think I think she's the one controlling it, and so. But she sort of lets her get away from her at times, and then it's like, no, wait. Now we're gonna go back to this other.
So I think when Vision does realize it in episode 3, and I know this is skipping ahead, I think that's because Wanda is starting to realize it. Mm-hmm. I think he's an extension of her mind right now.
That's entirely possible.
I was also looking at it another way, that it could be possible that part of what's going on here is, and I don't know, this could totally be out of left field, but is her trying to in some way bring Vision back, and you could almost view it as a progression of him. In that first character, he's not able to really, sort of think and do things on his own, but then as the episodes carry on to the point where he's recognizing stuff is wrong, you could look at that as he's beginning to become aware by himself.
I like that.
Yeah,
it's kind of like Janet from The Good Place. Every time she's restarted, she gets smarter. It's like every time it's another part of a decade, he kind of starts to become more aware.
Well, right in the first episode, he makes the commentary, he can't possibly have forgotten that date because he remembers everything. He knows everything, and yet he doesn't know what that is. So
yeah, and can't figure out where they came from or what. Yeah, I mean,
and I think I know the reason why, but I won't say anything because John might fire me from Jollof. So I will just sit here and smile.
Is there? I mean, okay. So I am going to ask a comics question that's not to do with this show, I don't think. But were the stones destroyed after Tony snapped in Endgame?
No, they were replaced in the timeline.
Okay, so they were back.
Captain America went back in time. And he had
and put it back.
Yeah.
But then what about the second snap? So what about the snap that's in the...
So there should be gone, yes.
Okay. So that way she would be the only remnant of the Mind Stone, right? Because that's where her powers come from in this universe.
Yes, because they didn't own rights to the mutants yet, correct?
Yes. So her and Petra's powers both came from the Mind Stone. So she's the only, does that mean the Mind Stone lives on in her somehow? Or can she do things like I guess like Vision did when he had the Mind Stone? That's the other thing that's a little bit weird to me in this is her powers are not quite what they really are. They seem a little bit off to me.
Oh, they're glitchy. They're glitchy as hell. I mean, you can tell when she's using them because obviously, I mean, it's in a black and white world, you see a sudden flash of red. You see an object and it's out of place and it's all red, like the helicopter. That was, I think that, those are like Wanda's instances when she's using her magic.
But in Endgame, in this world, can she create rings out of thin air?
You mean in sort of like the main sequence world?
In this world that we're in now. Like in the MCU that we're in now, not the comics.
I know the character from the comics has the ability to straight up alter reality, but it's not something she realizes she's able to do until later on. So I don't know that I've seen her be able to do anything like that. She has a lot of sort of like force projection, force fieldy type things.
And she's clearly got the brain mojo, but her levitating things and her making stuff out of thin air it seems a bit off to me.
So if you look at the way that the rings are made, it looks like little color pixels from a TV. I think in this pocket universe, that's how her powers are working and manifesting.
Right, so that's what I'm saying. They're not like her powers really are. They're like some.
Everything's all wonky because I think she's in this little tiny pocket universe she's made for herself, a little tiny reality, and I think because of that, John, take the headphones out for a second. So there's a part of the comics called House of M, and if you look at there's when she's pouring the wine bottle at dinner, it has a House of M reference, and that's basically where she alters reality and gives the X-Men everything they want, and she permanently alters reality. My guess is Marvel is going to, this is my guess, don't know, is going to bring in the mutants by having her alter reality after WandaVision permanently, so that now all of a sudden mutants exist, and that's how they're going to bring mutants into phase 5 of this whole new Marvel Universe thing they've got doing. Okay, you're good, John. There you go. We're good.
We can get Courtney to hold back on spoilers, but not Amy.
Thank you, everyone in the chat for canceling me. I love you all.
Yeah. I'm sure everyone saw it, but you're not going to type bootylicious in my chat section and not get it put on the screen. That's all I'm saying.
Oh, yeah.
Another thing I figured out, I'm pretty sure the show is set in New Jersey. And you can tell that from two things. The first one is when they're moving into the house and there's like a for sale sign outside the house. the area code is a New Jersey area code, and there's a scene where Vision goes to meet with the neighborhood watch, which is just the men's gossip club.
Yeah.
But they talk about their boss bought his trophies, and I can't remember if they said Hackensack or Hoboken.
Yeah, Hackensack.
Oh,
I'm pretty sure it's Hackensack, but yeah.
It's one of those H-towns in New Jersey.
yeah.
So I'm pretty sure the show is set in New Jersey. 1961 for the first episode. Haven't figured out if there's some way to tell what year the later episodes are set in, but they are clearly progressing through time. Fort Lehigh is in New Jersey. So maybe that's where SWORD is operating from. We'll see.
I mean, it
They're
could just
clearly operating from Westview right now, but
clearly they're operating right outside Westview.
yeah, right.
That setup they've got outside there. It's like, oh my God, we're in the DMZ or something. You know.
That reminded me of Thor when they're all in the middle of the desert, like with this huge military operation. You know, like that reminded me of that. So yeah,
That's actually, you know, what I just thought of, Nessie, is that the fact that the town is called Westview, it is reminding me of Westfield from Fringe, where they basically drive into this.
I love Nessie. I mean, I do love Nessie, but I also love Fringe.
It could also be, it made me think of Westworld.
Yeah, with the whole Vision is like, what's going on with
Or
them
like the
aspects.
whole town.
Mhm.
The whole town seems like a bunch of automatons, really.
Well,
not
yeah.
less and less though. I think less and less like automatons. Like that they're just. I don't know. It does seem to me like I don't know what it. After I saw the force field, I was like, she's clearly taken over a town here.
Yeah.
Like, and these are actual people in the town who are sort of being forced to play in this simulation. Especially like with Monica not having a home, you know, and things like that. I don't know. I think it's that's what I think anyway. And I'm sure we're going to watch the back again and I'm going to be like, that's hilarious that's what I thought, you know, but yeah.
It actually wasn't the West that caught my attention. It was the view part, because my thoughts just from watching it is thinking that, you know, how the SWORD agent was kind of, it feels like we're watching this happen. I feel like that she is creating these TV shows and that she's actually broadcasting it out, and that's how SWORD knows what's going on. So the view part is actually what caught my attention, because it seems like we're viewing her own idyllic life.
Yeah, she's not just creating the world, that she's actually just projecting.
You can literally,
it out.
like the second one is literally called "Don't Turn That Dial" or
Don't
something.
Don't touch that dial.
Exactly,
Yeah.
don't touch that dial. It's literally like we and the SWORD agents are watching this happen, and we want to intervene, but we're not quite able to. So that's why. So Wes, yeah, definitely, I that interests me, but it was the view part that caught my eye. And you know, WandaVision is cute that it's a mix of their name, but it's also once again going back to this idea of being a broadcast and being a spectator as well on our part.
So like WandaVision, it just says it's like a television show about Wanda.
And in that way, the person we keep seeing at the end watching it could actually not be involved in what's going on at all, but they're actually watching and studying what Wanda is projecting out.
That person watching though had the notebook that had the sword on it. So they're at least aware of, I mean, they're involved in whatever the sword is involved in at this point. Yeah. You know what I thought was interesting too, that really like kind of turned me back, was like the screen changing from like, I don't know what the narrow vision is called, to widescreen vision when they go from the show to the real world. Like it goes in and then
is that
it turns
aspect
to white.
ratio, John? Have I learned from you?
But I don't know what is that. That's what it's called when the screen is narrow. Is aspect ratio?
No, aspect ratio is the measurement.
Yeah. So it goes from like narrow vision to widescreen, and I was like, what's happening here? You know, like that was a great visual clue.
Allow me to get technical. It goes from 4:3 to 16:9 to then 2.35 to 1.
Yeah, that was just cool. That was a cool like visual cue that you sort of are seeing, and you're like, wait, what's going on here? Why is it? Oh, okay, yeah.
Yeah. One thing that I really had wanted to talk about was Agnes, because Agnes is quote playing the quote nosy neighbor part, but she just inserts herself immediately into Wanda's house, what's going on. She just
Can I just say,
like I say,
her pause after Wanda says, "I could just be myself," was the freakiest thing I've ever seen. Like,
Wait,
Yeah.
sorry, you guys. This is my brother-in-law. Hi, Corb.
hi.
So yeah, this is my brother-in-law.
Oh, hi.
It's my sister's husband. So yeah.
Hello, Aaron's sister's husband, Sea Dog. And that's actually, Sea Dog.
Sorry, I just needed us all the way up to Corbin. So yeah.
No, it's fine, man. You know how we treat our family around here. Seeing as Wanda is going to be in the multiverse of madness, what odds would you give the person watching the shows being Doctor Strange?
I think Doctor Strange will play a role. I don't necessarily think that is him, but I do think Sea Dog is onto something with thinking about Doctor Strange.
Plus, whoever it was, looking at their arm, it looked like they were more, it was a smaller, thinner arm. It didn't quite come across to me as Doctor Strange. I actually was trying to figure out if I thought it was, if you can even tell if it's a man or a woman by their arm, but it seemed more feminine to me. So I don't think it's Doctor Strange, but we'll see.
Yeah, weirdly, I don't think Strange would be monitoring anything technologically. If anything, he would be monitoring things.
He'd be like, "Ooh, magic!"
Yeah. He'd be like getting that doing his little whirly shit.
Yeah.
He'd be monitoring.
But I think Doctor Strange is involved in some way. I mean, when there's magic crap like this going on, there's no way he's unaware.
I don't know that he is. I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if he is. I wouldn't be surprised if he isn't. Just Marvel knows what they have to work with. And they have not only a huge stable of established characters, but they can just bring in somebody new. No, Potter, it was a human arm.
Yeah.
It was not a duck arm. So
get out, Potter. Get out of the chat. Sorry, you're kicked out.
So I actually don't.
Anyway, we were talking about Agnes. Sorry, have you noticed we haven't met her husband? He's
her husband Ralph.
Her husband Ralph. We've never met Ralph.
Which, by the way, something that you've brought up about a certain other show, Amy, is that we don't actually see this husband on screen, but somehow he has a name.
Yes, John. Get ready.
Female characters on other shows.
We get female characters we see a lot and they're unnamed, but then there's a male character we never see and he's named. I actually think it might be sort of a commentary on 50s.
You mean ladies, is your husband tired of you burning his
toast? It's your fault. And actually that commercial, hold on, let me take a sip because patriarchy.
Wait, hold on.
That commercial, though, I do want to say it shows a Stark Industries toaster. So if Wanda is indeed creating a reality that makes her feel safe, if anyone's seen Iron Man knows that she and her brother Pietro, right, their parents were killed by a bomb made by Stark Industries. So she's made this militaristic, the military industrial complex that is Stark Industries, a toaster company. And one more thing about that. What does someone who's had a stroke say they've smelled? Burnt toast. That's all I'll say.
I also really like that the tagline in that commercial is "Forget the past. This is your future."
Yeah, I really picked up on the things that the commercials were saying on my second viewing. The last one kind of says,
unleash the goddess within, or something like that.
Also, get away from your troubles or something or other, which lends to this being Wanda immersed in something.
Of course, it's Hydra soak as well.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yes.
And then the
watch is
Strucker.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
you're not fully dressed without two items. You're Strucker and your lady love.
Right. And for those
Yeah.
of you that don't know, Baron von Strucker is the character from Age of Ultron that basically created Wanda and Pietro, unlocked their superpowers by using the Mind Stone on them.
I found myself wondering today as I was watching Age of Ultron, like whether or not he might show up, because I was kind of thinking like these are like parental figures or like, things like it's like Strucker, because they clearly liked Strucker in Age of Ultron. I don't know if that's but they like protect him and all that kind of stuff. So I was just trying to figure out with these commercials whether these are supposed to be like good things or bad things to her, because she likes Tony now.
Yeah.
Like she likes Tony Stark now, but she didn't in Age of Ultron. And so it's like, are these all like, what are they supposed to be? Are they supposed to be dealing with her, or are we supposed to be listening to the message?
I think I agree with Kelly on this case and that they represent her trauma. And even though she does later get along with Tony Stark, that doesn't erase the damage and the trauma that his industry, his company has caused. So you can, she can personally forgive him, but not necessarily the whole military industrial complex that is America, basically. And she also has that view from the outside that I find so interesting. They had the Sarkovian greeting part was very interesting. So they have these reminders that she's not, that her view of America is going to be different from someone who is from America. And I think that's really interesting. And yeah, but I read the commercials in a similar way to Kelly, in that they represented those who have harmed her, and she then makes them benign.
Where is Hydra? Where is Hydra in the universe that's harmed her necessarily? Because I guess Strucker isn't really. I don't know. I guess that I don't know. It seems weird to go from Stark to Strucker to sort of Hydra in general, but maybe I'll just sit and noodle on that. So.
Okay.
Not sure.
Sea Dog got another great comment or observation here about the way they're utilizing camera work in this show. And while you have a really great, very specific example that you're giving here, I think they've done great with it in every aspect up to this point.
Yeah, just the way they have established the sort of sitcom world, and then because they've done such a good job of capturing that, whenever like it veers from that, to show the cracks, like especially in that first episode, you can immediately notice the difference in the cinematography when the boss starts to choke and things start to fall apart. The camera work is completely different, and it puts you on edge immediately.
Everything kind of dims down too. The lighting, even the lighting changes where it's just to focus on the people sitting around the table.
Well, and if you watched a lot of the old sitcoms that the show is based on, you're going to recognize that sort of like 3 camera setup that they used for so much of it. And then when they break away from that, and you might not even, a lot of people might not consciously recognize it, but subconsciously you're still going to notice that is not the camera work they used in I Love Lucy and Dick Van Dyke. So, but they only go to that type of camera work when they are filming the stuff that is outside of the sitcom type of setup. It's like when the weird stuff is happening.
Yeah, but that is, to Corbin's point, like that is a really like the look on her face after they come back after she throws, like it is a villain shot almost, like it looks like she is not our protagonist anymore. I guess that is from the end of episode 3 is what you're talking about, where right before she kicks. Right after they go back into the house, right, like when Vision comes in, she's just sitting looking at the babies, and it's just her in the shot, and the look on her face is not maternal. I love my babies. Like I will kill anyone that threatens me or you.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Did anyone else get the impression that it might have been a community of aliens or witches or whatever these people are?
It's I didn't get that myself, but like there is literally nothing in the show that dissuades me that that's possible either.
Well, the secrecy at the fence.
Yeah.
Yeah.
With the where he's cutting into the wall. Is that the
Yeah,
one?
he's got an old man chainsaw and he's like cutting into the
brick wall.
solid concrete for what the heck? What's that all about? You know?
The comment about how the one who got kicked out, I believe her name is Geraldine, how she has no home, I think really makes me think that she came in later on that helicopter.
Yeah.
Because she would have no home. She was not initially trapped in that reality.
And you didn't see her before the helicopter.
Yes, exactly. So there is a theory that has been floated around by Agnes, I believe is her name. So John, take your headphones out.
Yeah. You mean Agnes Harkness?
Yes, Agatha Harkness.
Agatha, yeah.
Agatha Harkness, who is a witch, look, Left Dad asked about witches. How can I not mention that theory? So I would say it is possible that she is Agatha Harkness, who helped Scarlet Witch with her powers, and is the father of Nick Scratch, if any of you guys are the Chilling Adventure of Sabrina fans. All right, you're good, John.
Yeah.
Oh, I didn't know that. That's cool.
Yeah.
So John, what happened to your face?
Great question. Great question.
It was all for Aaron.
I came prepared today too, so
now she won't have to see
like
it.
this. Like, so.
Man, it was looking so good, man.
It was.
You won't let it get too far.
Well, see, and this is the thing. I am actually sad for you, Left Dad. Like, I'm sorry. I'm genuinely sorry to let you down. But sometimes I really just got to stick it to Aaron. So.
I like Betsy's comment, our lovely mother Stark's comment about this kind of Stepford Wives neighborhood. I definitely get that vibe with being the perfect wife and, cooking all these things, but these people feel programmed. And that's definitely the kind of feel that I think they're going for. So
yeah.
It's interesting though, because like Emma Caldwell, like that Dottie, she seems very outside of that as well. Like, because in the talent show, like her facial expressions are kind of at odds with a lot of other people's, and I don't know if that's just because she's the neighborhood queen bee or what. But
are you ready for some unnecessary pedantry?
Yes,
it's Emma Caulfield, not Caldwell.
Caulfield, sorry, my bad. I'm actually that's not unnecessary. You
that
should
is not unnecessary, Steve.
Yeah,
exactly.
No, that is an entirely necessary pedantry. So
okay,
yeah. No, I watching her is sort of at odds with everybody else, and I wondered if that, because she can hear the radio too, and it kind of doesn't seem like a lot of that stuff is other people can do that, So she seems to me like somebody who might be sort of quote unquote special in here too, like Geraldine is.
It's possible, but it does seem like things break somewhat. And people notice, but then Wanda wiggles her nose or whatever, and then everybody acts like everything's fine again.
Yeah, she seems to be the one who's like, is okay with like calling it out. Like she genuinely wants to know, like, who are you? What are you doing here? Whereas a lot of the other ones are either not aware, and some of them are aware, but they're kind of play acting alone. Like Agnes is very much playing a role and trying to, not say things out loud, even though she's clearly aware.
Right.
Did you unmute it?
We were talking about the camera work earlier, but I also wanted to mention the color difference. And if you notice, the only color that comes in during the black and white episodes is red. And what color is Vision?
Yellow.
And yellow, yeah.
And yellow.
Yeah.
But yes. So,
mostly red, Joe.
But mostly red. So I found that really interesting that's the only color those are the only colors that she allows in this
You're
reality.
killing me. I'm colorblind.
Oh no!
I had no clue. None.
Oh, well, now you know.
Well, there's
Color alert, it was red.
yeah. And that's just another one of those things that makes you scratch your head in the moment and go, it clearly means something, but what, we don't know.
Well, isn't that the color that when, Wanda's using her actual magic, isn't that the color that her magic manifests as red?
I mean, she's Scarlet Witch. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean that
she is associated with red, but also the yellow part makes me think Vision. So
I mean, I always felt like Vision was what you guys are saying red, but I always felt he was more purplish.
Purple.
Yeah. So,
Like
I think the red would more symbolize Wanda.
Right. I'm just going to say this for Tinkerbell real quick. For the children.
For the children. Yeah, exactly.
Of whom there are none in this reality.
Yeah.
And Wanda has them.
Until Wanda brings in two.
Yes.
For the it's for the children. Like maybe this space is a protective space for the children.
Yeah. Exactly.
It's all for the children.
Although it has been,
and the chat is also mentioning Iron Man for the color scheme, and that is
true.
Also of note for sure. I think it could be both, like Porque no Listos, but that's just me.
Oh, Iron Man.
Oh, I don't want to. Yes, Dan. I'm sorry, I gotta put this up. Wu-Tang. Sorry, I'm good.
Nice. Okay, you know what though? We've been going for about an hour, so let's hit the mid-roll real quick, shall we? This is the part of the show where I say, hey, everyone who's here, make sure you hit that like button and subscribe if you're not subscribed. I would greatly appreciate it. If you're enjoying what we're doing, subscribe and come back every Sunday evening. We talk nerdy stuff with nerdy people. It's a good time. Speaking of which, we've got something nerdy lined up for next week, except I don't remember what it is. So I'll get back to you on that. I will give our patrons their shout outs though, because they are many and lovely people. Our High Council of Patrons consists of Lord John Bronsteen the Wise, good guy who was on the channel last week. We also have Sixto Sounds, aka JP the Axe Grinder, and our alpha patron, ridiculous Ed Tollett, who is probably listening at work right now. Hey Sean, love you, buddy. And they are backed up by the lords and ladies of the realm, including Lady Leaf Underhill. And who is this other person? I don't know. Aemy Blackfyre.
Aemy.
That Aemy is my Chinese name, so good job, everyone.
Okay.
This whole time you actually can speak Mandarin.
Oh yeah, I didn't know it. Shush. All right. But yeah, so and links to our Patreon is down in the description if you want to become a patron and help support this wonderful community and keep things going. We'd appreciate it. I see CDog923 just subscribed to the channel, so thank you.
Oh.
Yay!
I figured out that your name is Corbin, but you're forever CDog to me.
Forever CDog.
My sister, in her very normal, kind, and generous way, married a total nerd so that I would have someone to nerd out with all the time. So yeah.
Good choice.
That was nice of her.
Wasn't it so nice of
Very
her?
considerate.
She also loves him on his own merits, and he's a wonderful father and all that stuff. But I'm convinced that she married him so that I would have a friend to talk about with nerd stuff. So yeah.
Very cool. So Nessie, what's coming up over there on the Unspun Yarn?
Okay, we've got a couple of things coming up with my good friend, Miss Erin here. John's nemesis will be joining me on the 27th of this month. We're going to be discussing our Witch Queen All High, Morgan Le Fay.
Hell. Hail.
All hail the witch queen, yes. And then we're going to have our second episode of Bleep the Patriarchy, right, Amy? Second
Bleep
episode.
it, y'all.
Bleep it.
Bleep it.
Yeah,
Bleep
it's gonna. I think we settled on Bleep the Binary, and we're going to be discussing gender norms, gender trans issues, transphobia. Yeah,
And why the binary is a figment of everyone's imagination.
it's a construct, much like whatever this place is that Wanda's living in now. So that's what I've got
Excellent
coming
tie
up.
in, Nessie.
Yeah, so that's what we've got, and that's going to be on February the 10th. So we're going
Nice.
to run that a little earlier, right, Amy? 2 p.m.
Oh gosh, that sounds
Either-
right, and I am just double checking. Yes, 2 p.m. Eastern, everyone, on February 10th.
Yeah, we've
And
got
that is a Wednesday.
Yeah, Wednesday, because Lo the Lynx is going to be joining us all the way from the other side of the water.
Yes, so we have to make it Euro friendly time for them. So
Euro friendly, guys.
Hey, be careful out there, Sean. Drive safe on
Yep.
your way home.
Careful, my
be safe,
friend.
buddy.
John, what's coming up over there on Jawoof?
What's that?
I grow a little bit
Sorry,
inside
I'm sorry.
every time you say
I might
Joe.
pronounce that. It's not Jawoof. It's
I am
Jawoof.
Thank you.
I am a huge proponent of Joa and hugely anti-content previews. So I'm adopting half of Amy's language and
rejecting the other half. I'll take it, Aaron.
Yeah, so this coming Saturday at 7 p.m., we're going to be talking about the film Pan's Labyrinth. And we're going to have, oh God, what's that guy's name? God, I don't know. He's okay.
Oh, Stanley Snart is what you're looking for.
It's Sleeve Slark.
Yeah, there you go.
Sleeve
that-
is my
Stevie Estelle?
That guy over there is going to be joining us along with Cecilia from Geeks Aurelia, and we're going to have a blast because Pan's Labyrinth is such an incredible film. And then starting the week after that, Amy and I are going to be doing coverage on some movies for Black History Month, and we're still figuring out exactly which titles we're going to cover, but I know we're starting with Hidden Figures, and we're going to have Monaro Geek on to talk to us about it. So looking forward to that. And we're also going to be having AK joining us. We just haven't decided on a movie yet. So stay tuned.
Hidden Figures, great film. Looking forward to that one, John. Amy, you can plug 3 things.
Three things.
choice here.
Okay, I have one question. Am I allowed to use banners?
Sure.
I have a YouTube channel and I have a blog. You should check both of them out. 3 things. All right, I have exactly 3 things, Stephen.
Nice.
Well done.
I picked the right number then, didn't I?
I am doing a video and an essay on the Air Nation, and I'm going to have Yogi over it through the Moon Door. Moon Door's 2 words on. I'm also hopefully going to have Stephen as well, and Christina, aka our lovely Lady Triple. And yeah, we're going to be talking about airbending, the Air Nation, a little bit about Avatar Aang. We're going to have a really good time. And I have 2 big A Song of Ice and Fire / Game of Thrones essays coming out. One about black and white symbolism, and I'm going to look at it through yin and yang. You might know it as yin and yang. And I'm going to have John on, not this John, Bronsteries, the other John. He's all right. I guess I'm going to have him on. We hardly know each other, but whatever. I'll have him on. I hope he's good. We'll see.
Sweetheart dream.
And I'm also going to have an essay and a video about Mulan and comparing that to Alarish / Shirella and brave Danny Flint from A Song of Ice and Fire. I have other stuff coming up, but I was only allowed 3, so there you go. Please subscribe to my YouTube channel. I do look at the number tick up, and it validates me, and I love you all. Thank you.
Which, by the way, I also want to mention, and this is a little bit of a preview, but in the month of March, late in March on the 27th, we're going to be covering the Disney film The Little Mermaid. And Bronsteen, I'm calling you out now. You better come on to that stream.
Nice.
Because you were talking about how much you love that movie. And how
I'll
you want
slide
to do
into
it
his
stream.
DMs,
So, okay.
and I'll ask him about it.
All right. Well, and that brings us last but not least to Aaron. Aaron, you can plug as many things as you want.
All my things.
I see how it is, Steven. Also, I'm technically not plugging this with my mouth. I am doing it.
I knew it. I knew it.
Yeah. Anyway, yeah. No, I'm as Ness mentioned, I'm being on our channel on Wednesday. We think we just decided on 7 p.m. Eastern. So yeah. We're just be talking about Morgan Le Fay. So yeah, good one. Sliding into somewhere, but I don't know if it's him. So
dang. Is it hot in here to anybody else?
Oh man.
Did it just get sexy up in here, Big Dragons? Oh no, wait.
Yeah, it did.
It's always sexy here.
It has been since the beginning. But yeah, so no, but that's all I have coming up currently. But
by the way, Hacks Dogma, this is the mid-roll. We got a whole nother hour to go, so please stay tuned.
We're only halfway through.
Mid-roll meaning in the middle.
It's so funny because Aemy now is like every time on Joe F is like, this is only the mid-roll. We have.
I'm always afraid people will leave. Yeah. I don't want them to leave because I love everybody.
It's a necessary.
But thank you. The first half of the stream. Thank you, Hacks Dogma.
Yes, for sure.
And Hacks Dogma has a really great video on the first 2 episodes of WandaVision. I know he's working on the 3rd episode, so please check him out.
Right. Yeah. Nice. And I will say this too. I recalled there is not something set in stone for next week. I am about to reach out to someone to try to get them to come on for, and I know that nerd. But failing that, I think I might just call an audible and say we're going to talk about the film Into the Spider-Verse.
What?
Yay! Yes. I love that film.
Nessie, I know, Nessie, but like...
No, excellent choice. I'm fine, and I'd love to watch it.
And the week after that will be the
Expanse wrap-up.
The Expanse wrap-up.
Mm-hmm.
Steven, you're a thief is what you are.
Yeah, I'm stealing that movie from you. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah.
You're stealing
I did have that on the list for Joe, but I shall allow it. I shall allow it.
John, you're invited to come.
Yeah.
How magnanimous.
Yeah, it's not even on their schedule yet, Steven. It's going to be 8 months down the road, but you're definitely stealing it from them. So,
yeah, our list that is 200 movies, and you're stealing one of them. I'm mad.
Yeah. So it's either an I know that nerd guest TBD. I have a guest in mind. I don't know that I haven't got a yes from them yet, but it's going to be awesome if we get this person. So
can I threaten to kneecap anyone for you, Steven, just to hurry that along? Or
yeah, sure. Well, I'll get with you after the stream.
Have your people call my people.
Yeah. And if I can't get the I know that nerd, then we're just going to go ahead and move forward with Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse because I love that movie. Okay, let's get back to WandaVision. So how much fun are Paul Bettany and Elizabeth Olsen having doing this show?
Thank God for this show because Paul Bettany especially, because he's done a great job playing Vision, but Vision is very sort of mostly he has to play it very straight, and in this he gets to really flex his comedic chops, which I think both Aaron and me as fans of A Knight's Tale, we love it when Paul Bettany is allowed to be really funny, and so it's just been a joy to watch.
Yeah, I totally had a flashback to Chaucer when he comes out to like introduce himself in the magic show. Like when he yells, it was like Chaucer. I was like, oh,
the protector of Italian virginity.
I was like, yes, this is my man Chaucer right here. So yeah, but no, the whole thing when he's drunk on the gum or whatever is so good. He's so good in that, and his hair and his just it's amazing. I love it. So
well, and you've got to imagine as two actors who are very serious about their craft, because let's face it, Elizabeth Olsen and Paul Bettany are artistes. They're actors,
You're an artiste.
They are probably trained to not act the way that they are being forced to act in this show. That sort of over the top, silly, ridiculous 1950s and 1960s style of sitcom acting hasn't been around for a long, long time. I would imagine that most modern actors are trained to stray away from that, but they have to they have to like deep dive it even. They have to accentuate it maybe even more than the 50s people did, just to get that feeling of ridiculousness to come across.
Oh yeah, they have to lean in to sell it.
And you have to love the transatlantic accent, darling. You know, like
the in-between British and American. You know, yes.
It's so good. Like, there's like that. There's the first episode where Catherine Allen says something, Agnes says something, and Wanda is just sort of sitting there, and it looks like she's trying not to laugh. You know, like she's just sort of like, you know, I don't know how any of them did this without just cracking up.
Yeah.
Well, that's really why whenever you watch bloopers for like a sitcom and stuff, that's why there's always all those outtakes of people unable to control their laughter.
I do like that it's during those really serious moments, especially the ones where the reality is being questioned too much, that you get more of that modern style of acting, like the choking scene. When you look at Wanda's face, that is more of what we would consider contemporary acting style. And, you know, like I said earlier, the facial expressions not matching the seriousness of the scene is very telling that something's wrong with this reality. And I really appreciate that difference in acting, because it makes you feel unsettled, and that's what it's supposed to do.
Yeah.
There's just so much, like every beat of that scene has something different in it that I think is so interesting, because like, why is the boss being that forceful to begin with? Why out of everyone everyone is trying to do this, like the whole thing where they're accommodating Wanda, and this guy is yelling. And he's the only person that gives them any sort of grief other than Dottie, who sort of does it in a way less. So it's like every beat of that scene, there's something new that you're like, it's like wrong. You know, so that, like I said, that was when the whole show grabbed me. That was when I was like, I'm in on this, because this whole thing is just weird and wrong. So yeah.
Yeah, it's a sort of a question of, well, why are certain people kind of more aware than others, and being aware, they're desperately asking, like, who are you? Where are you from? Why are you here? And basically, you know, underline all that is leave us alone and give us our town back.
Give us our agency. Yeah. It makes me think of Bewitched, where you have the nosy neighbor who is more curious than her husband, and her husband's like, oh, I think it's Gladys. Is it Gladys? Yeah, oh, Gladys. And she's all looking through the window trying to figure it out. So there are some characters that are like the nosy neighbor Gladys, and then there are others like her husband that are just kind of going along with it. So it ties into the mystery of the show and is also still a callback to Bewitched, which I love so much. And the constant "we're almost found out" is just so Bewitched the whole time.
Well, this show knows its classic tropes, its classic sitcom tropes, and it leans on every single one of them, especially like in the first episode with the call home from they can't figure out what date it is, so he calls her, and they're like, "Oh, I'm glad we're finally on the same page," but they're really totally not on the same page. And he's like, "If we don't get this right, it could be over." And she's just like, "Dang, man, really?"
It's a little dramatic, don't you think?
Yeah. And going back to what Aaron was asking about her powers, if you notice at the beginning of the episode where she's having to cook, she can't just make things out of thin air like she later does with the rings. She has to have the neighbor come over, Agnes, right, and bring her ingredients so that she can cook it. So we also get Wanda growing, and her powers are kind of realizing what she's really, really capable of.
Yeah. She does a little more than burn the toast in that. So it's like, oh, it's too much, you know, and she burns the chicken.
And then it's too little.
It's too little. Oh, they're eggs now.
I like how she improvises and goes with breakfast for dinner, though.
How very European.
Yes, European.
Very European.
And it's
I
actually
have the guest that's leaving now. You know?
And it's funny because we're talking about the first episode, and the thing was on my first watch of this, because I actually watched the first episode and then waited about a day or two, and then I watched the second one.
Mm-hmm.
The first one, when you start watching it, it leans into the whole sitcom thing, and it's really only in that scene where things go off the rails that's when the cracks come. But most of the rest of that episode, you could almost, if you're kind of ignoring that other stuff, you can almost enjoy it as a throwback to old sitcoms. Whereas once you get to the second episode, those cracks are very evident, and it becomes super creepy.
And third,
for most of the episode, and so it's funny because, and this is going to drive Aaron crazy, but when I first watched the second episode, I didn't enjoy it as much because I was enjoying the homage to the old sitcoms. So when episode 2 was kind of freaking me out, I was like, no, just give me the fun, enjoyable stuff I was liking. But then when you go back and you watch all three together, you can, it's brilliant the way they constructed this to where if you look even in that first episode, even before that scene towards the end, if you're watching like under, sort of ignore the laugh track, put that out of your head and watch what's going on. It's, that creepiness is even there from the start.
Yeah.
And it's what I'm really loving about the show is that you're really digging into this sort of darkness and this psychology, of what Wanda is going through. And I don't think that's something that we've seen in the MCU before, where it's digging that deep into what a character is sort of emotionally going through underneath.
It kind of reminds me of, and this is DC, but when the Teen Titans go into Raven's mind, it's that kind of psychological thing.
No talking about DC.
No
on
DC
the
here.
screen.
All right, I'll never say it ever again. I mentioned X-Men a bajillion times during my DC stream, so I guess
that was your
way.
DC stream.
You set the rules in your own stream.
That's right.
But this kind of psychological aspect to it is really interesting in the show, and that's what I think fuels the mystery. Is how is Wanda's own kind of trauma and her desires manifesting itself. For example, when she does get pregnant, she manifests that stork. Stork. Yeah, and
it brings the painting to life, more or less.
Yes, exactly. So she's that's her in her preparation for motherhood. Her mind is kind of doing these things, and then how it was a really funny scene where it was kind of pecking at I believe at her Geraldine's pants that had fish on it. It's just really funny. So you do have those moments of comedy, but it still has a dark undertone because this pregnancy is unnatural, and the stork reminds you of that. That's unnatural to have the stork bring the baby. We know that's not how babies are made, right? Hope the kids aren't watching, but
yeah.
Well, and Dr. Nielsen's explaining to them how these things happen,
Yes, that was, yeah.
Oh my God.
How did this happen?
Well, when
Amanda how much were you drinking during that scene, Amy? Because
about pregnancy?
With the doctor and talking about the fruit, and this is
the
women are
oh, okay. I'm always drinking in general, but I see what you're saying.
Yeah.
It was and then it was interesting that the kind of the doctor was aware and yet naively unaware at the same time, because she's all of a sudden way more pregnant, and he's just like, what is happening?
Yeah, but like he basically says, we break it down to comparing it to fruit makes it easier for the women folks.
For the women to that was a whole glass of wine.
And I will say, they have brought up fruit in this show a lot.
And she has the fruit bowl to cover
No,
her pregnancy.
go back and watch for all 3 episodes.
Yeah,
There are
lots of fruit.
lots of references to fruit.
Yeah.
And
Here's a pineapple for your pineapple upside down cake.
who knows
So
what
much
it
fruit.
means, but it could mean something. It could mean nothing. Another thing that they're really showing
Maybe-
a lot of, but it's subtle, is hexagons.
Maybe
Yeah.
maybe the director Matt Shackman just has a fruit fetish.
Maybe.
Well, I
And I will
mean,
say, right,
hexagons
move on to hexagons. This was, for whatever reason, the papaya joke. I was like, Steven liked this joke. I was it just
That's
made me
such a
think of
bad
Steven for some reason. Like
I saw it coming.
papaya. I was like, yeah, that's Steven.
Oh, good stuff. Good
I
stuff.
saw it coming. I didn't swerve. I was like, I'm running right through this one.
Just
I
gonna
love,
keep
yeah.
straight for it. It actually makes me, the thing it made me think of was, this is kind of gross, fruit of your loins is kind of what I thought of. And it's so
Yeah.
birth focused in that 3rd episode.
yeah, I mean,
Well, it's very
children-
clear. Okay, I don't know that it's very clear, but this show is about Wanda and Vision, and I really think it's about Wanda and her desire to have kids.
Yeah.
Because
that was the
Stability.
question yeah, that was one of the questions at the dinner table that the
why don't you have kids yet?
Yeah.
The whole thing they're doing in episode 2 is for the children.
for the
Ugh.
children. It's all about the kids and
Yeah.
creating these wonderful,
Oh,
improbable, whatever.
Kelly.
Good
Thank
one.
you.
Yeah.
That is so good. I don't think I would have made that connection, but hex magic, I love it.
Yeah.
I was bad in geometry. How many sides does a hexagon have?
6.
Okay.
And isn't that the same number of sides that like a honeycomb has?
Yes.
Like from the
Yeah,
beekeeper.
if you want me to get sciencey for a second, it is the most efficient and structurally sound shape that occurs.
Yeah, I knew that. Yeah. But
All right. Does anyone have any theories about the beekeeper that are not informed by knowing a lot about the comics?
No.
Yes, technically.
So
Uh,
they have a sword logo on their back.
just that it's
Yeah.
some really weird shit.
It made me think of a hazmat suit
Yeah, it
yeah,
made
that,
me
that
think of
was what I thought. Like,
because you protect
Somebody-
yourself from the bees like you would use a hazmat suit to protect yourself from.
It was giving
from
me
germs.
vibes of like, people coming out of the hatch, and lost kind of thing. I don't know what's going on there, but I'm glad that I kind of surprised. I don't want to know what's coming up. So.
You know what it
Yeah.
made me think of weirdly
So I like
was Adam, or the like at the end of Guardians of the Galaxy 2 when they have like the beat, like it's like I don't know, it's like because that those people always remind me of a hive. Like that
Yeah.
it was they were like a hive of like people, and then they have that like cocoon at the end.
Yeah.
And that's what it made me think of for some reason. I don't know if they're ever going to bring that back or if they have any plans on, bringing that into the story again, or if that's a plot they're going to drop. But that's, for whatever reason, it just made me think of those like weird hive people in Guardians of the Galaxy. So
It also, Betsy has the Once Upon a Time vibes. For those of you that haven't seen that show, it's basically storybook characters that are in their
No,
own
you didn't read
little
the whole
town.
You
No,
didn't
yeah.
read the
Birds of the
whole
Bees.
comment. Once upon a time, telling kids where they come from was telling them the birds and the bees.
Okay,
So
I
the
like that. It made me think
beekeeper-
of Once Upon a Time, though, which is a great show.
The beekeeper,
for the
and
first
then
couple
there's
of
also a
seasons.
bird in episode
Yes.
3. So the story
Very tied to
specifically.
pregnancy.
Yeah.
Yeah. But Once Upon a Time is a good show. Because it is characters in their own little pocket reality
It
that
is.
aren't
See,
aware of
like,
what's happening.
Let's see if
so-
I can find some random words in the chat that I'll just.
Oh my god, I
Yeah.
can't even with you, Peadar.
and then once the beekeeper shows up, that's when Wanda does that whole rewind time thing.
no, we're not doing this. We're going back to the other thing. So yeah.
Egg 6 is bringing it to you, Amy.
All right, I needed to keep a list of what I'm not allowed to talk about in this frickin' stream, apparently.
I will say though that just to go back to Egg on the Six earlier comment, I too keep waiting for post-credits sequences. And I was obsessed with trying to see if any of the names, because the only episode that has like its own credits is the first one.
Mhm.
So they show like an actual credit that isn't like the WandaVision credits. So I was like obsessed with trying to figure out if there was like any other words you could make out of like Babs Digby, like who was the producer and stuff. And I was like looking for like anagrams and stuff because I keep being like, ooh, why are they showing this to us? Why is it this? Why is it that? And keep being like, come on, post credits. Come on, post credits. I fast forward to the end of every episode to make sure there are no post credit sequences. So yeah.
I'm relieved there are no post credit sequences. I think it's a cheap gimmick. Sorry.
You're allowed to think whatever you want.
You're allowed to think wrongly about that, but it's fine. So yeah.
Yeah. So
we've already established that you hate Marvel movies and you're only doing this
because that's what I said.
Right.
So it's right after the timey-wimey rewind thing that they, Wanda's now pregnant. She recreates, rewinds reality, and it's like, oh, okay, this
She's
time I'm
before that.
Yeah, that happened in the middle of the when they were talking about her being pregnant. But yeah.
In the second episode?
In the second episode, she pops up as pregnant.
Yeah, at the end.
Here's the noise
and then they go outside.
Goes and sees the beekeeper, then rewinds to basically that same point where she's pregnant.
Okay.
And I will say, like, she sees something, she recognizes it as not belonging here, says no, and the way they do the rewind is really interesting. But in the third episode, when the time resets, it's just a hard cut.
Totally. Like I was like wait, is that my TV? No, it actually was the show. Totally. That was so cool, I thought.
Like, it was so jarring. I literally had to like rewind it and be like, did I accidentally, because I was watching it on my phone early in the morning. I'm like, did I accidentally touch the little timer bar and cause it to jump forward or back or something? But because that hard cut was, I don't know, it was very jarring. And that happened, I guess, right after she kicked Geraldine out. Is that right?
Yeah, I think so. I know the whole time she's pregnant, that for 45 minutes she's pregnant, whatever, like her powers get all wonky and everything. So it's, it may have been part of why when it happened, it was just so, so sudden that it's like she gets control back of her powers and it's just boom. Where before it was kind of like, her powers are in chaos. It's in flux. It's like pregnancy hormones are making, gone wild or what have you, whatever or she's just sucking in so much, using so much of her powers to manifest life, that other things aren't working right because she has to concentrate so much of her energy.
Give me 1 second. Boo. Slime, filth, muck. All right, I'm done.
Actually, Nessie, that also, it's a common trope in fantasy shows where like a witch specifically gets pregnant. As she's pregnant, her powers are wonky because the kid also is magical, like in Charmed when Piper gets pregnant. And so I think, in my opinion, I think what's happening is that Wanda sped up her pregnancy so she could get control back, because this whole scenario was about her trying to regain control.
Well, I mean, she's in control, so she's the one who's controlling how fast her pregnancy takes.
Yeah.
And it happens so quickly.
Yeah. I was watching Age of Ultron today, and I was like, God, Wanda has had a fucking suck-ass life. Like, excuse my language, but like, God, her parents died, and then her brother dies, and then her lover dies, and then, you know what I mean? Like, I almost want her to be able to stay where she is and have a nice life, like, even if it's not real or, like, I'm like, can we all just let her stay here for a little bit and have some happiness for like 5 freaking seconds,
Yeah, the show is also a bit of a manifestation of what the audience wants for Wanda. We do want her to be happy and feel safe. So this is, her little cocoon of safety that she's created. Also, I will say, just looking forward, when we get in the 80s and 90s, it would be interesting if her character and her reality is like a working mom. I'm kind of excited for that, but that's just my own headcanon.
like a Roseanne show or something.
Well, just because, obviously it makes sense for the 50s and 60s TV show to
Oh,
be a
yeah.
housewife, but that's not necessarily the case of the 80s and 90s TV shows.
Yeah. I thought it was
So-
it was a nice little catch there, like when the doctor was talking to Geraldine after they delivered the babies, that there actually was like a 70s show titled Nurse, and it was about a African American woman who was a nurse. So she was like the first African American female to have her own television show. It was like a big thing. So that little callback there with when, the doctor just snubs that out there for, you could be a nurse,
Yeah, it also was a drinking moment for me because he would never say you could be a doctor. So,
Right.
Yeah.
Right, absolutely. But there was a
I like
television
that though,
show.
Nessie. I like that tie-in with that era of TV shows.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
I love that.
But outside of the sitcom, when Wanda starts to figure out that Geraldine's story doesn't add up, and she starts to sort of confront her there in the living room. Elizabeth Olsen is not a huge, intimidating person, and she's, but I swear to God, she was staring daggers. It was kind of scary to see how serious and malicious she looked in that moment. Mama Bear is going to be pretty dangerous. Let's just have that said. But kudos to her for delivering a look that froze my blood.
Just menace, like just exuding menace. Because like my first thought was why essentially one of the things that I'm interested in is why people are sort of scared of her. Why is Agnes scared of her? Like when she's sort of scared of her when the veneer starts to crack, and then Geraldine was, Monica, she was clearly scared of her. And it made more sense, like you said, Stephen, in this one, because like she looked like she was about to rip somebody's heart out, but it just made me wonder if, I guess, how aware Geraldine is at this point. Like, does she know Wanda can hurt her? Does she think Wanda's going to hurt her? Did she pull that about Pietro out of thin air? Does she know why she remembered that? So that whole thing they do a lot with like very little screen time in these. They make me ask 1,500 questions in like a minute's worth of screen time,
And that scene was shot perfectly. You had Vision outside hearing about how kind of weird Geraldine doesn't have a home. That's kind of strange. And then we cut back to Wanda and back and forth. So as the audience, we're starting to question her like
what's
Wanda
up with her?
is.
Yeah.
And I also think what's interesting is what was the end of that sentence when Agnes was trying to mention more about her, which makes me think that Agnes is more aware than a lot of the other characters.
Yeah, I think Agnes is in the know on things, and maybe she's there to help. Or figure out,
I will say, as far as Elizabeth Olsen's performance, even before that sort of, more threatening turn there, as soon as she starts mentioning her brother, the Pietro, and just bringing that, those shades of, the actual character back in, I was mesmerized.
That's
all the more because we haven't really. Pietro hasn't been mentioned in the MCU since he died.
100%.
And I wonder if part of that is just because of the rights issue with the character. Maybe they decided just to veer away from, mentioning him if they didn't have to. But I really enjoyed hearing her talk and speak about him, and because obviously, from what we see in Age of Ultron, they were very, very close, and so that had to be an incredibly close bond, and so I loved seeing that reflected. Plus, it gave me lots of X-Men vibes. You know?
And it was the birth of her children that brought back those memories and made her sing that lullaby. It kind of it warmed her heart so much so that it made her vulnerable if she's trying to keep this pocket reality the way it is. So, becoming a mom, it made her, she is more aggressive and strong and mama bear protecting, like Stephen was saying, but she is also more vulnerable because it does bring up a lot of issues for her about her own childhood.
Yeah.
Ugh, poor Wanda.
I know, the whole time it's just poor Wanda. But that's the thing, is she is if she is keeping these people against their will, she is a villain, even though we do feel for her.
Sure. I don't know. That kind of made me sad though, because I wondered if her bringing him up meant we weren't going to see him. I kept kind of hoping we were going to.
I do also want to mention something, because this was something that I wasn't actually fully aware of before I looked it up. But if anybody is asking, thinking about next season, this is actually a limited series. So
whatever happens.
So it's one and done. So
yeah,
that's what I would assume.
And how it's going to tie this, whatever's going on, is going to tie into the bigger, fuller.
Which, can I say, like, the promise of that makes me so excited. Just the fact that, we're having all these shows that are going to be on Disney Plus, and because this is being done differently to how the Marvel, quote unquote MCU shows of the past were done, these are timed directly into the films. And I think that the films, I know I'm alone on this panel and not thinking that the films are the greatest things ever made.
There were some good ones, there were some not so good ones.
Yeah, but what makes me very excited is I think that having these Disney Plus shows, it's going to greatly enhance the films going forward. I'm going to love seeing, like, if this is tying into the next, going to tie into the next, like, Doctor Strange movie and all that, having the foundation of these multiple hours of, of really insight into the character of Wanda and stuff, it's going to feed into the films. And I think the characters are going to be, so much richer than they've ever been before, I think. And so I'm even though I haven't been the hugest MCU fan, I think that I'm quite excited about what this portends for the franchise moving forward.
I think it's definitely going to influence Captain Marvel 2, which I'm excited for as well.
I also think it's more satisfying for viewers too, because like you said, we just didn't know, like we didn't get any time with Wanda's grief because there was no time. There was just, they had so much other stuff to do that there was no time for us to sort of sit with these sort of less main characters. And I think that we're just going to be a lot more satisfied as an audience, like being able to spend time with her in this way and like, see her process her grief rather than just be like, yeah, my twin died. It was a big deal, So we know it was a big deal for her, but it's just going to be a lot more satisfying as an audience as well. So
yeah, and and one of my criticisms, which you guys have heard plenty of about the MCU, is it's always felt to me like each film has kind of just been like it's set up for the next one, and I've missed having like storytelling that's just about certain sets of characters. I love the fact that we're getting multiple hours of focus on a story that is primarily about Wanda and Vision.
Yeah.
And then that's fine if that then leads into some bigger, adventure that's going to be on the big screen. And I think it's incredibly valuable to have this time with these characters who we haven't really gotten to see outside of, basically Avengers films or, or Captain America movies masquerading as Avengers.
Right.
Just a few scenes, and just a few scenes at that in the movies. Just a very few scenes.
I was going to say, after 3 episodes of this show, we might have more screen time for those 2 characters than in everything that came before.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yep.
I don't know. Between Infinity War and Age of Ultron, I would maybe doubt that, but if these were hour episodes, maybe, but they are only half an hour.
By the end of the series, we'll have way more, though.
Yeah, that's true. That's true.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, and it just gives so much more depth, like John was saying, to these 2 characters and their story. this wonderful, weird, shouldn't have happened love story that did.
Which is why I say the more Marvel stuff on Disney Plus, the better, because I think that the franchise can only be enhanced by getting maybe some smaller scale stories that dive deep into these characters, and then let us have the big epic, adventures on the big screen. I think that for me, that'll work beautifully, and I'm looking for, like, when they get to X-Men, I want to see some X-Men stuff on the small screen too, because I want to get small, intimate stories.
They've shown that with The Mandalorian, as far as the Star Wars universe, that it's the smaller stuff that really pulls at people's heartstrings rather than the large cinematic. And not to say that The Mandalorian wasn't cinematic, but it was smaller in many ways to the movies themselves. It was about, Grogu and Pedro Pascal's character.
And you just have more hours to devote to these characters. So it's always going to be, I think, slightly more fulfilling that way.
Yeah, you don't have to keep it movie length and then jam it in with 60 other characters as well. So,
Yeah, when they're like, oh, they give you all of this and you don't know why you should care, right? And WandaVision is telling us why we should care about Wanda and her love for Vision. And we don't necessarily get that in a movie format.
Right.
You didn't care about Wanda before this, though. Get out. I'm not here.
Oh, obviously Wanda, but like her connection with Vision is heightened with this show, right? And our rooting for the impossible is really baked into this show.
I mean, for me, Age of Ultron was meh. But everything else since then, I have loved Scarlet Witch as a character.
She's good in Age of Ultron too. It's just the whole movie. It's not. But
and it's not a bad movie, but it's just
Yeah,
it has James Spader, which is why I actually really do like it.
Okay.
Like when they're falling and Vision comes to get her in the train car and like picks her up. It's so like I was like, oh my heart. I was watching it today. I was just like, this is like their first, like not their first, because their first romantic moment is kind of when she's like he's dreaming. She can hear him when he's in the cocoon and she's sort of like, ooh, but this is like that. It's just so like he comes and he sweeps her up and I was like, oh man. So
I want that too, Sea-Dog. I will say the animated X-Men Evolution is kind of similar to that. If you want to check that out, that's on Disney Plus. Not at all canon, but it's fun.
I used Corbin Lisa's Disney Plus account and my icon,
nice.
Mine is it's Rogue, and then it's my nieces call me Aunt Hoot, so it's Rogue and Aunt Hoot on the bottom. So.
Oh, that's
nice.
So precious, Aaron. Oh my God, that's so cute.
Okay, y'all. So we're looking at about 15 minutes left on this stream, and I guess if there's anything you want to make sure you mention about these episodes, I think I got everything out that I wanted to, the big stuff. Or if you want to talk about what you're hoping to see in maybe the next 2 to 3 episodes. Like, obviously, we're not going to try to go spoilers or comic booky stuff, but like something specific about the show maybe that you would like to see, or like, I, for one, am looking forward to the Married with Children episode. I don't know, I would really suspect it's going to be.
I'm picturing Vision putting
on
an album.
Putting your hand in his pants.
But no, I actually am really looking forward to what I've seen in like the trailers and stuff of, like during Halloween when they're out in the old style, costumes. I think that'll be fun. Aside from that, I really have no clue what's coming up, and I'm excited by that.
Yeah. I'm looking forward to the accelerated development of these twins. Because if you thought the pregnancy went fast, these kids are going to grow up so overnight. Fast. Yeah, they grow up so fast. Literally, they are going to grow up so fast.
Something I'd like to see is a little bit of antics on the kind of a little bit of maybe if we're going with kind of the sitcom around 80s, 90s, some kind of Full House kind of stuff going on.
That would be so great because Elizabeth Olsen's sisters were on that show.
Exactly. So I could see something like a you got it, dude. Like some kind of
Oh,
stuff
God.
going on. I would, this is my headcanon, is I was obsessed with Full House growing up, and I would like that because those were huge in the 80s and early 90s. This like all family big in one house kind of thing. And if we got that with Vision and the kids and Wanda, that would be really fun. Also, just one thing I wanted to say before I hand it off to you guys a little bit more is the question of Wanda's agency. I want to see that a little bit more. How aware is she of what's going on? We need to get a little bit more hints of kind of, is she aware of what she's doing? I'm really interested in that. So I would like, as we get closer, because we do know there are only going to be 9 episodes. As we get closer to the end, I want to kind of see her. Is she going to realize what she's doing and kind of have a, pardon the term, kind of a coming to Jesus moment of like, oh crap, I'm actually the villain of my own story. That would be really interesting. A little bit of self-realization would be fascinating for me. Yeah.
And Rock is a stud.
What?
I really am here for that Full House reference. God,
yes.
Ashley Olsen was so great in that show. I mean, Mary Kate always phoned it in, but
yeah, she was barely there. I mean, but you know.
Oh God.
But I think since they have 2 kids, you know, I know Full House has 3 kids, but you can have kind of some of those leave me alone, you don't remember what it's like to be my age kind of stuff that you could have the kids growing up. It'd be kind of fun. Yeah.
So we'll talk about Sea Dog's question here. Are we getting into the 90s, 2000s style? Or is this a scenario where Wanda is recreating only the TV she was able to watch in Sokovia? That is an excellent question.
Happy Days?
Well, I think they're already past that point.
I need somebody to hit the jukebox here in WandaVision. So.
Well, but let's be honest, Happy Days was really more geared towards children, whereas things like Dick Van Dyke and Bewitched were a little bit more full family type.
My
story.
favorite Martian, maybe?
No, I don't think so. Baby.
If they become teenagers, do you think we'll get some Saved by the Bell kind of stuff?
I mean, maybe, but I actually doubt it. I think this is going to continue to be the type of show where mom and dad are the important characters. You know, the adults are the important characters.
Yeah, that's what I was saying, like maybe like a Roseanne style show, because you've got
that could work. They could reference Roseanne. They could reference Modern Family.
Yeah.
But the question
that's where I'm kind of having trouble like thinking what like 2000 style TV is. But I suppose Modern Family is a good reference, because after the fashions, we sort of lose some of the distinctiveness. Like in the 90s and the 2000s don't have quite the distinctive like looks that the sort of 70s and 80s and things
we
like
gotta
that.
get big hair.
Well, it went from the home. It went from the home to the workplace, right? We start to get in the office and Parks and Rec. We go away from the family, and this is all about Wanda's wanting for a family. So
this may be way off, but what about the Simpsons? You know.
Like a Simpsons episode?
Yeah.
I like going into the future and us having some jets and stuff. I'm with Nessie on that. That would be awesome.
I mean,
I want to see the guy trimming the hedges back into the hedge, like the Homer meme. Oh yeah. Yeah.
But actually, I'm going to circle back to Sea Dog's question about what they will and won't reference, because he raises a good point. About it only being the stuff that Wanda would have watched when she was young in Sokovia, because that would be the comfort television for her.
Yeah.
Which this is clear. Well, not clearly. I've said that a few times. Nothing is clear in this show. But I think that she is constructing this at least somewhat in her own mind. She might not have put herself in the prison, but she's definitely the one that hung the drapes here. So,
and if she wasn't put in, if it wasn't her that put it in, she's a willing prisoner now, it seems.
Right.
Yeah. Maybe the prisoners taken over, the inmates have taken over.
Yeah, she's got a little Stockholm syndrome here. Yeah.
No, because she's certainly fighting to keep reality out.
She is, but is she only going to rely on that comfort television that she knows and loves already?
Yeah.
Which would be fine if they did that. It would also be fine if they sort of just kind of continued to march through the years of sitcoms, because she's probably at least passingly aware of those. And sitcoms are known for sort of building that perfect, especially the further back you go, they've got this perfect nuclear family where, you know, the mom is fully dressed with her hair done and in makeup when she's down there flipping eggs for the family, you know.
I want to see a working mom part of this, though, since she has had kids, and if we're going into the 80s and 90s, you know, kind of a little bit of a, you know, working mom kind of having to come home and be a full-time, or not a full, I'm not saying Vision's not going to do anything, but being really important part of the household, and then also bringing half the bacon home would be interesting.
All I can say is if they do go into something 90s, there better be a TV on in the background, and I better hear dun-dun-dun-dun-dun.
Oh, yeah.
That would be awesome. And
that'd be great.
And Aemy, she couldn't bring home half of the bacon. She can only bring home like 83%
like
of the bacon.
70 cents on the dollar of a bacon. You know,
and
if she were a woman of color, 50
bacon.
cents on the dollar. Yeah. Not great.
Yeah, they could flip it. Like once they get into
I want it to be the 80s, and I want her to have shoulder pads. This is all I've ever wanted.
Shoulder pads, big hair, and she's the one going to work. She's the one going to work, and Vision's the one that's going to be staying home with the little kids.
Okay, so Egg on the Six says he wants a full Avengers movies as Muppets, and now I'm like, but whenever you make a Muppet movie, there is that rule that you have one human character.
One has to be a real person. So, chat, if you had a Muppets movie, who would be the one person that wasn't a Muppet? Go. If you had Visions or WandaVision as a Muppet, who would be the one person that's not a Muppet?
Or an Avengers movie.
Or an Avengers movie.
Avengers is more fun.
Avengers is more fun.
Look, if we're going to have WandaVision, I think having Wanda and Vision is almost a must.
I mean, I feel like it's got to just be like
it's got to be.
He's not one of the Avengers, but it's got to be just like Martin Freeman by himself is because like everybody always goes for bigger characters. I like the random like nondescript, you know, regular human in the background who's.
Oh, these are great.
Yeah. Y'all are killing it in the chat right now.
Nick Fury with Muppets.
That
I'm tired of these mother effing Muppets on this mother effing show.
Now that's all I want to see. I want to see that now.
I want Nick Fury throwing the bloody playing cards down in front of Muppet, like different bloody trading cards, like this.
Right.
Muppet.
Oh man, I'm really glad we went this far off the rails right here at the end.
That's in classic Here Be Dragons fashion.
If you guys have never seen it, there's a really old fan trailer on YouTube, which is Pulp Fiction with the Muppets. And they go through, you know, the whole cast listing off the Muppets, and then just randomly in the middle, you know, of this Muppet cast, they say Eric Stoltz, and he's the only.
Oh yeah, I gotta pull it.
I love that.
We were just talking about that just a few minutes ago.
Yes. I need it. Give it to me. Thank you.
It would be very weird, Carla Mosqueda. To
it'd be very meta, which is what we're here for.
Yeah.
I can't tell you if I would love or hate a "you got it" dude being thrown into WandaVision. I can't tell. I can't figure it out.
They're gonna do it right. They've done it. In my opinion, they've done it right so far.
Now who's gonna be the John Stamos character?
We need a hot uncle.
Who is Uncle?
Gonna be the hot uncle.
It's gonna be Phil. The guy with the big mustache.
Oh yeah.
Gotta be Phil. Dottie, that's Dottie's husband, by the way.
Oh yeah, Dottie's husband, yeah.
these earrings make me look fat? And then the power goes out and he goes, oh, thank
Oh.
God. I was like, really?
God.
Really answered if the earrings made her look fat or not.
Which
That's always a trap.
I'm
Always a
sorry,
trap.
was I the only one who wanted Dottie to kind of freak out during the magic show when the bunny was?
Oh yeah, that would have been awesome if she freaked out.
Oh, the Buffy reference.
Yeah,
Good stuff.
I love that the rabbit's name is Senor Scratchy too. I do rabbits scratch stuff? I don't know. I guess I never really thought of that as a rabbit.
I
trait,
think it was a reference to Nick Scratch from
yeah, that's what I think. I think it's a reference to a Marvel character.
Yeah, that's my opinion, though. Yeah.
A Chilling Adventures of Sabrina character.
Yes, Chilling Adventures of Sabrina. Yes.
No, there's a old Scratch is the devil.
Yes.
Oh, I was going with Nick Scratch, but okay.
Nick Scratch,
Old
old Scratch.
Is the devil. I mean,
Well, so is Nick Scratch.
They keep teasing me with a certain Marvel character, and I just want it to happen. Otherwise, they are really blue overing me this. I don't like it.
Does it have anything to do with flies?
Yes, sort of.
Okay.
I mean, yeah.
You want to unzip them.
I'd have to tell John to remove his headphones again. I just don't want to do that at this point.
Yeah,
so.
we're at the end anyway. So and this is getting dangerously close to spoiler territory again. So we'll see where we're at 3 episodes from now when we come back to talk about WandaVision again in about 3 weeks. I will go around final thoughts if you've got them. My final thought. I'm just super excited for what comes next because I cannot predict the show. Nessie.
Yeah, I'm absolutely the same, Stephen. I want to see what happens next. I'm so glad that they didn't just drop the bomb on us, give us all the episodes at once. They were just going week by week so that we just get those just a little bit at a time. I'm loving that. And like I said, I want to see how these weird kids are going to grow up overnight,
Rock and his beard are a stud.
Yes.
Excellent last thoughts, Nessie, in the voice of Rock.
Yeah.
I'll just say I'm enjoying the show immensely, just because it's making me giggle with the sitcom references, and also I'm really digging the dark edge that is the other side of the show, and I honestly think this is probably my favorite thing in the MCU, and I think it's the most creative thing they've done. So.
Right on. Aemy?
I like the risks that they're taking with this show, and they're really putting themselves out there and sticking their neck out, and I think that if it keeps going how it's going, they will be rewarded for that. Like I said, gosh darn it, I want a Full House episode. We'll see what happens, but that is to me 80s, early 90s sitcom. So that would be wonderful, but we'll see. I do want to say that, I will be in the chat screaming at you guys for the next couple of coverages of this because, I'm a little bit with Kelly on this, and that even though it's not going to follow the comics completely, I think knowing the comics, it makes it more interesting for us. But those of you that are watching, if you don't know crap about Marvel Comics, you're still going to enjoy the crap out of this show. So I think that anyone can enjoy it, but I like the constant references to the devil because us comic book readers are trying to fit it into our own, what we think might happen. And if they give us a little bit, but don't fully fit it in, that's fine. And if it's a complete red herring, I'm still here for it. So I'm really excited for what we're going to see next. And I'll be watching every Friday with my bestie Jenna, and we're going to have a great time. So I like the community that this show has created too. We haven't seen this in a while. There are some shows that have created this type of speculation, and I hope that it continues. And you all know, especially J-Dubs knows how pro binge I am, but I'm glad that this show is week by week.
Tinkerbell agrees.
Yes, because it has this overall mystery to it, and I think it lends itself well to that kind of organization. And so I am really looking forward to each week talking to all of you in the Slack and everything about what we think's going on.
Right on. And Aaron, last but not least.
Yeah, so me first and me last. So yeah, I'm gonna echo you can say I'm really enjoying this, but I think it's even more like it's not even more because I don't want to make any judgments, but it's a relief to me, like because I didn't really care for a lot of the Netflix Marvel shows. I liked Jessica Jones, but I didn't those with the like 15-minute long fight scenes and just those were not my cup of tea. And I love Marvel and I wanted to love those. So I am very, very happy to be enjoying this. I again, there were a lot of reasons that I thought I might not like it, but I'm very glad that I do. And I'm dying to figure out what happens. And we'll probably continue to try and find anagrams in like weird places and shit because that's what I have time for these days. Also, Corbin said that he's watching with my niece, so I just wanted to say hi, Helly. She keeps saying hello to me on the screen. So hi, Helly. So yeah.
Even though Erin can't see you, she loves you.
Yes, Aunt Hoot loves you. So yeah, but yeah. So anyway, I'm really looking forward to the rest of it. So
cool. Well, again, I'm looking forward to it pretty much with the same anticipation the rest of you are. It's been wacky, wild, and fun up till now, and I expect it to continue. Everybody's social media links are down in the description. Everybody's channels are down there in the description. Everybody that's got one, that is. I'm looking at you, Erin.
All links all the time coming at you.
Also, don't follow me on Twitter. I don't do very often. So yeah.
Follow her.
Yeah. You can follow her anyway.
A lot of good retweets.
But we've all got good stuff coming up. I'm going to be on John's channel on Saturday to talk about Pan's Labyrinth, and then yeah,
I'm so excited about that. I've already got all like my title card and all my images and stuff already set up.
Are you gonna draw eyes on your hands?
I'm gonna watch it like this. The whole stream, I'm gonna be like, "What did you think about blah blah blah?"
I've got so many images of the Pale Man because I want to freak out.
Excellent.
But anyway, yeah. So come back next week to Here Be Dragons. We might have an I Know That Nerd. We might do Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse. Either one will be great fun, I assure you. The week after that is The Expanse. These people got stuff coming up on their channels. We talked about it at the mid-roll, but Nessie, just what's next? What's next?
Next is going to be this Wednesday at 7 p.m. Eastern. Erin M. and I are going to be discussing Morgan Le Fay on my channel, The Unspun Yarn. On the 10th, we're going to bleep the binary, Aemy and I, with Load the Links. And I just got confirmation that Lady Gwen is going to be on the channel in March.
Nice.
Yep, and she is going to be we're going to be discussing her namesake, Guinevere. So
sweet, John. Yep. John, I already said it. Pan's Labyrinth.
Pan's Labyrinth, Saturday, 7 p.m. Be there.
Right on. Aemy, what's next?
The very, very next thing, Steven, hopefully will be you, Lady Triple, and Yogi on my channel talking about the Air Nation. Going to do some Avatar Last Airbender. I'm excited.
Awesome. Erin.
I have nothing except Nessie's stuff. So Nessie already said the stuff. Otherwise,
subscribe
I got
to the Unspun Yarn if you haven't already. What are you doing with your life?
And I will say, Erin, we're going to have you back for something. You've been a contributor here a couple of times, and it's always a pleasure having you.
Well, thank you. I'm always very happy to be here. So, and I'm very happy to yell at John about Marvel and how great it is. So,
and follow Erin on Twitter so you can see her updates about her forthcoming YouTube channel.
Yes.
Right.
Actually, she's starting out with a blog and then starting a YouTube channel because her good friend Steven said that she should. So that's kind of how the progression is going to be.
Anyway. So, everyone who was here for live, thank you. If you're watching this afterwards, also thanks, but a little less so. Being here live is way cooler. Plus, you get to add to the conversation in the chat.
Also, have you subscribed to Here Be Dragons? Ask yourself.
Yeah, and if you haven't, you should hit the subscribe thing. So yeah, thumbs it up as well. So yeah, thanks everyone. This was a lot of fun, and you know what it is. Until next time, peace and be excellent to each other.